Next, let us study how a labor market monopsonist maximizes its profit. We will first quickly recap the perfectly competitive labor market and then move on to the labor market monopsony. This way, we can compare and contrast these two different types of labor market. Recall that from the last lecture, Iris's Boba Drink Shop was a perfectly competitive firm. In addition, Iris's Boba Drink Shop hires workers in a perfectly competitive labor market. Iris's Boba Drink Shop's labor demand is exactly MRP, the marginal revenue product curve. Being a wage taker, her shop takes the market wage as given, which is determined by the market labor demand and supply curve. The equilibrium wage is $30. After the market wage is determined, Iris's Boba Drink Shop takes a $30 wage as given, equating the marginal benefit MRP and the marginal resource cost, the current wage $30. Iris's Boba Drink Shop hires 5 workers. As we have perfect competition in both product market and resource market, the market outcome is efficient and everyone was happy. But then one day, sadly, Boba Vader ambushed Iris, kicked her out, and took over her Boba Drink Shop. After that, Boba Vader expelled all other employers from Earth. As the only employer on Earth, Boba Vader's Boba Shop became the only employer on Earth, which made Boba Vader's shop a labor market monopsonist. Boba Vader was now selling boba drinks in the Galaxy market, which was perfectly competitive. However, he hired workers on Earth as a monopsonist. Boba Vader first wanted to see how many boba drinks each additional worker can make. So he calculated marginal product of labor MPL. As we know from the previous lecture, the marginal product of labor is equal to the change in quantity divided by the change in labor. Boba Vader calculated the marginal product of labor for each worker on Earth. As the boba market is perfectly competitive, Boba Vader is a price taker in the product market. The current price of a boba drink is $10. Finally, Boba Vader calculated how much money each additional worker can make for him by computing marginal revenue product, MRP. MRP is equal to the price of the boba drink times the marginal product of labor. For instance, the first worker makes an additional 7 drinks, and Boba Vader can sell each drink for $10. So the first worker made $70 for Boba Vader, and so on. Boba Vader must equate marginal revenue product MRP and marginal resource cost MRC to maximize the profit. He already calculated MRP, so he must now calculate MRC. Marginal resource cost in plain English is this. How much money does the employer have to pay for one additional worker? Mathematically, it is a change in total labor cost, delta TLC, divided by the change in labor, delta L. We can calculate the total labor cost by looking at the labor supply schedule as shown in the table. Notice that Boba Vader is a labor market monopsonist here. Therefore, he is not a wage taker, but a wage maker. Because he is the only buyer in the labor market on Earth, he alone faces an upward sloping labor supply curve by himself. Because Boba Vader faces an upward sloping labor supply curve, if he wants to hire more workers, he must pay a higher wage. We calculate the total labor cost by multiplying the number of workers L with the wage rate W. The total labor cost of hiring one worker is 1 times $10, which is $10. The total labor cost of hiring 2 workers is 2 times $15, which gives us $30, and so on. Given the total labor cost, we are ready to calculate the marginal resource cost, MRC. We know that MRC is equal to the change in total labor cost, delta TLC, divided by the change in labor, delta L. Therefore, the marginal resource cost of hiring the first worker is equal to $10 minus $0 divided by 1 minus 0, which gives us $10. The marginal resource cost of hiring the second worker is equal to $30 minus $10 divided by 2 minus 1, which gives us $20, and so on and so forth. Did you notice that MRC is greater than the wage, except for the first worker hired? Why is that? A monopsonist is the only buyer in the labor market. It is a wage maker, not a wage taker. Therefore, the monopsonist faces the upward sloping labor supply curve by itself. To hire one additional worker, the monopsonist must increase the wage rate. This increased wage rate applies to all workers, not just the additional worker hired. Recall that MRC is the additional cost of hiring one additional worker. The wage rate of hiring one worker is $10, but the wage rate of hiring two workers is $15 each. Therefore, what is the cost of hiring the second worker? It is $15 for the second worker. However, we must add $5 to the first worker, as the first worker previously only received $10. Hence, the marginal resource cost of hiring the second worker is $15 for the second worker, plus $5 additional dollars for the first worker, which makes it $20. What about the MRC for the third worker? We increase the wage rate to $20. So the MRC of hiring the third worker is $20 for the third worker, plus $5 additional dollars for the first and the second worker, which makes it $20 plus $5 plus $5, which is equal to $30. Therefore, MRC is greater than the wage, except for the first worker. After calculating the MRC, we are ready to sketch the MRC curve together with the labor supply curve. Notice that MRC is above the labor supply curve. To maximize profit, Boba Vader will equate MRP and MRC. They are equal when 4 workers are hired. Therefore, Boba Vader will hire 4 workers. Notice that the fourth worker makes $40 for Boba Vader, but is paid for $25 only. Same with the first, second, and third worker. They each make $70, $60, and $50 respectively for Boba Vader, but they all get paid $25 only. Boba Vader maximizes his profit this way. In the next clip, I will show you the 3 steps of profit maximization on a diagram and why monopsony is inefficient. For now, I hope this helps, and I'll see you next time.